Yo, what up everybody? I'm Dave Miranda and this is episode 32 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing well, continue to be great. Got a really amazing show lined up for you today. But if you guys caught episode 31, you saw that we had none other than my brother DN3. And let me tell you, that was special. It was special to me because I was in a lot of those stories that he was talking about. So I remember that like it was yesterday, you know what I mean? Especially the Muhammad Ali story. You know, it was, because it was my birthday actually that we were celebrating. And it was over at the Cheesecake Factory and, you know, it was just, we were just having such an awesome time and then all of a sudden you just see the champ walk by, you know, and it's like that scene in Jaws 1 when Chief Brody's son is in the water and he sees that shark for the first time and he's like paralyzed. That's how we were. We were just like, you know what I mean? Couldn't even move, right? And, you know, just to go and meet him, you know, and he was kind enough to shake our hands, man, you know, and that's something I will never forget. You know, that was just an awesome night, awesome birthday night, you know, the whole nine. And then, you know, him talking about meeting Dilla, you know, like, I mean, I never got a chance. I was never fortunate enough to meet the man. I knew his mother, his brother, and the foundation, but I never got a chance to meet the man himself. And, you know, for DN3 to have met him, you know, in his early days, you know, to see what he evolved into is just, it's incredible, you know. So he's got so many stories and a lot of history, man, and we were so happy to have him on the show. So make sure you guys watch episode 31, and nothing but love and respect to my brother DN3. All right. But today's guest has been a staple, icon, and a legend in the Arizona radio scene for 43 years now. We're gonna talk about, you know, some of his favorite memories, because he's got some awesome stories. Plus, we're gonna dig deep into his martial arts background because he's done some amazing stuff with that as well. This guy is the man, you know, the man, the myth, the legend. And we're very happy to have him on the show today. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you, Alex Santamaria.
Hey, how you doing? This is Alex Santamaria. And if you've got time, all I'm saying is, just give me 5. I was going to Maryville High School, and they had a career day, and an anchor that was here in town on TV on one of the news channels, her name was Linda Alvarez, came out and started talking about radio and TV broadcasting. So I went there with one of my best friends. We both hung out, and it sounded really cool, just the life and everything they got to do. And it wasn't about the money. Didn't even think about that. It wasn't about fame or fortune. It was just about the fact of being able to be on a radio, play music we like to play, and just kind of have a great time. It seemed like a fun gig. I in no way thought to myself that I was going to do it forever. I thought, man, that sounds really cool, and I'd like to look into it. So that's what kind of got me started in that whole radio thing, and I was excited about it. And then during that time, a junior achievement program came up in school where they were looking for people for a radio station. They were looking for salespeople. They were looking for promotions people, just like a regular little radio station that all these different schools come together in the Phoenix Union District, and then they had auditions for the DJ. And it's really funny. I used to love Parliament, and I still do to this day. And I went ahead and I memorized the entire opening for P-Funk from Parliament. And because when it starts out, the guy says, "Hello, do not attempt to adjust your radio wave. Taking control as to bring you a special show." And it went on and on. And I actually did that for my audition. And right after I got done, they said, "Oh man, you got the gig." So I was pretty excited. So thanks, George Clinton, for getting me the gig, because all I did was memorize the song. But it was a lot of fun. So I started, and that was 1978, 79, right around then. And it was cool because I was still at high school, but doing radio on the weekends. It was a 1-hour show that I got to do. And then when that was over, they were looking for a DJ to keep going and do things for like high school events, you know, cover high school sports, things like that. So since I'd already done that show, I stayed on with the radio station. It was KRUX, Crux, 75th Avenue and Camelback on the west side of town. So it was great, worked out good. And from there, I just kind of went on to the next station, the next station, the next station, and it just really worked out for me. So radio's been really the only 2 jobs in my life. That's it. Radio's been one of them, and I've done it now going on 43 years in this business. Well, I got to tell you, when I first started in radio, being a young kid, and just really ignorant to everything that was going on around me, naive to my surroundings, not knowing, growing up in Maryvale over on the west side, that was my area, that was my circle. Everywhere I went, all the places that teenagers went back then, back in the day, whether it was Goonie golfing or whether we were going to a nightclub for teen night, there was Truffles out on the west side of town, things like that. Everything was cool. I didn't really see that there was a problem as far as racial bias at the time. Because living in Maryvale, everybody that lived there looked like me, and I didn't see it. After I started getting involved in radio and started going to different parts of the valley and seeing different things, I realized that, hey, there's kind of a little bit of a racial profiling going on, some other stuff happened, and I felt that in radio because at the time, I didn't realize it when I first got in, but as I looked around, I found out that there wasn't any Hispanics on English-speaking radio. I was kind of really one of the first, because I'm trying to remember who may have been there, but everybody I could think of was actually on Spanish-speaking radio or on Spanish television. So I also remember at the time when I started out, and I wanted to come up and say, hey, you know, when you sign on, hey, everybody, how you doing? It's Alex Santamaria. That, in a way, they didn't actually say, hey, don't say Santamaria. But they had other ideas for my name. And they always wanted to, and most radio guys, and it's really been a pet peeve of mine now for the last 43 years. It just happened to me over the weekend. People will come up to me and go, well, what's your DJ name? What's your radio name? I've only always had my name, and I think it bothers me when people ask me, because I remember when I first started out, they said, you know what, why don't you try, this sounds good, Your Pal Al. Wow. So I went with Your Pal Al. And I had an hour of power. So I was, hey, how you doing? It's Your Pal Al with my hour of power, because I had a 1-hour radio show. Right. And I got to do that for a while. And they had ideas about when I would go out in public and do stuff, about what they wanted me to say. And then I remember going to another radio station, and they said, hey, why don't you try Alex Santamaria? That way everybody can understand what you're saying. And I thought, oh, okay. So they want me to actually put any kind of Hispanic dialect in it. They just wanted to say Alex Santamaria. Right. And I thought, okay, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they want to make sure everybody knows what my name is. So I started doing that. And then a good buddy of mine who actually has been doing a show here for years, lives in LA, and it was kind of my mentor in the business. His name is Rick Noon from Rick Noon's Top 10 Now and Then. He happened to be with me and get me started and kind of bring me along and show me the ropes, which was great. And when I started working for him at KUKQ, Rick, being half Hispanic and being very, very influential and a big supporter of Hispanics and just the raza and everything that they do, said, hey man, just go with it, just say it, Alex Santamaria. So I started to be able to use my name, Alex Santamaria, and it felt good. So I think that's maybe why sometimes now I don't go by DJ so-and-so, or DJ, I'm just Alex Santamaria, that's it. And it's been that way. And so when I first started on radio, it was good to see that, especially now, there was no Hispanics on English-speaking radio, and I was on top 40 stations. I'm very fortunate to have my career on major radio stations, not just some small stations out in Blythe, California, or down in Ajo somewhere, and nothing against those guys. Right. But I've been able to have a career in a major market, on top radio stations, with a Hispanic surname, and it's been fantastic. Now, I have a personal pleasure I see, and I'm not talking about other markets. I know Los Angeles, okay, different, I worked out there for a while, Hispanics everywhere, but here, in the Valley of the Sun, where for years, country radio was king. I mean, you couldn't beat KNIX back in the day. Country radio was king, and we were known for our cowboys and for, you know, the Old West. That here, now when we turn on the TV and radio, every TV station has 3 or 4 anchors that are Hispanic, and you've got Hispanic field reporters. When I first started, there wasn't any of that. So it's good to see that we're being representative in a positive light and in the mainstream. I guess that's really the exciting thing, because when I first started, even though I was working the mainstream, my look wasn't the mainstream. But thank God that, you know what, there's been enough people that have followed and have continued to support wherever I've been, that I'm still here 43 years later, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, it's really funny. The whole martial arts thing and the whole radio thing, I've had some time in the past few years to really look at it, because my wife, she always tells me, I mean, at this age, I'm going to tell you, if anybody would have told me when I was, you know, back when I grew up too, you got to remember 19 was the legal drinking age. So I was working and spinning records in the nightclub at 17 and 18 years old, because if you worked in the club, you could be there, just like if you were a server, even though you weren't 19. And I remember I was spinning records at Tommy's Copa West. I was 18 years old when I first started out back there, right? But when I look at this whole martial arts thing, my wife, getting back to the fact, my wife says, what is it about me that keeps me going? Why do I, at this age, still want to be at every party? I want to be the last guy to leave. I want to be the guy to close it down, and I want to be leading the whole thing. That all goes back to why I got started in martial arts. It's really weird. I had some time to think about it, and I did. I have 5 sisters, no brothers. I'm the youngest. We can get into the fact that the Manic Hispanic's my nephew. We can talk about that, right? Yeah. But I grew up as the only boy and didn't play any sports, didn't do any of that stuff. My mom was afraid I was going to get hurt. Matter of fact, they put me into skating lessons, you know, like you see in the Olympics with the guy and the girl skating, and they got the jumpsuit and all that stuff. My mom put me in that, and sometimes I'd have to wear like puffy sleeves and polyester jumpsuit, and I had private lessons after school, so she'd go, oh, just wear your outfit to school. That didn't go over too well at school. And I got picked on a lot. I can actually tell you, I was that guy from the Charles Atlas comics from back in the day that got the sand kicked in his face and was bullied all the time. I was afraid, I was scared, but I'd let my sisters fight for me. And growing up in Maryvale, it didn't work out too well with puffy shirt and polyester suit. So I remember I had a good buddy of mine who has gone on to do martial arts. We've started side by side with each other. He's made tons of movies all over the world, worked with some of the best guys there are, Jet Li, Jackie Chan. He's done movies with everyone, but him and I started martial arts together, and he was the cool guy in school. I wasn't. So I remember that sometimes that they would invite him to parties and say, don't bring your friend Alex. And I used to get left out of a lot of things. And I thought to myself, man, I got tired of it, and I saw a Bruce Lee movie. And I remember going to the movie, and my mother was saying, why are you crying? And I said, because I don't want to get beat up anymore. I don't want to be picked on anymore. I want to do karate, and I want to be like that guy. And so they didn't take me to karate because they were afraid I was going to just, you know, start crying and leave. My dad didn't even get involved in it for a while because he thought I was just going to quit. Yeah. But something inside me, I just wanted to make sure that I could not be afraid anymore. And I wanted to be the guy that was able to go to parties. People would ask to hang out and be cool, right? I had this little complex. So I started doing karate, and I don't know, something about it. It just touched something in here, and it became my passion for life, and it's kept me going, it kept me sustained. And even my wife, my family will tell you, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be the person that I am. If it wasn't for Bruce Lee and all the stuff that he did, I wouldn't be who I am today. It changed my life completely. I still do it to this day, and opened up a school in '92, and it's still open to this day. We're there 6 days a week. But that martial arts and radio have been hand in hand, side by side with each other. So that's why now, believe it or not, I want to be at every party. I want to hang out. I want to be the party starter. I want to get things going. And you'd say at this point, please grow up, grow out of it, Alex. But you know what? After growing up young and not being able to do any of that stuff and not being considered worthy to go to parties with people, right, I'm at a point in my life where I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own party. I'm going to do my own thing. So whenever I'm out somewhere, you'll see, hey, let's keep going, you know, and hey, I don't care. I think you're as young as you feel, and I'm not that guy that still wants to try to be out there doing all the stuff with the young kids, but I got no problem doing stuff with you and I our age. We'll hang out together, right? Because that way we can sleep in together too, so that's it. So yeah, that's what inspired me to start going with the martial arts thing, and it's really weird. I love this radio deal. It's just been my life, and I know nothing else other than that. Yeah. The martial arts thing, I have people that know me from martial arts don't even know I'm on the radio, and vice versa. And I've got people that are close to me. I mean, even Jack Morales, who's here with us at the radio station, when they see me in that arena, they say, I don't even recognize you. A whole different person. But yet, I'm still one and the same. So, yeah, my martial arts thing, if you ever get a chance and check it out on any of my social media, you'll see that it's just what I do. And gosh, if I had to put the two of them together and say, I think as much as I've accomplished in radio in 43 years, trying to be as, I don't know, as humble as I can, I've accomplished more in martial arts than I have in radio. Radio's given me a great life, though, and helped me raise my family, but martial arts is still right there. And that's another one. It's great to see that when I first started martial arts, it was the days of, Chuck Norris was just coming up. Bruce Lee was still alive. All the guys that you see now, all the guys I see in the movies, good friends of mine, right, that I grew up with for years. At the time, Chuck Norris was winning, but he wasn't Chuck Norris yet, So seeing him at the tournaments, and I used to have to fight one of his students all the time. It would always be him and I fighting. So my mom and dad would be sitting next to Chuck, and they'd be, cheering us both on, things like that. Wow. All the guys that are in, in martial arts movies now from way back, when I was growing up, they were just the guy that we were hanging out with. Same thing as in radio. There's so many guys now in radio that I see. And I think it just has not anything to do with the fact that, I was so good or I had so much talent. Just the fact that we're all about the same age. We were all young, There's guys all over the country, all over the world that are huge in radio. I know that Manic talked a little bit about his time with Jimmy Kimmel when he was with him, I've got people that are huge in TV now, in radio that started out with me somewhere, and we were just together in the van. So I think it's more the fact that we're older, and we started out together, but it's been a definite, great journey this past 43 years for not only the radio thing, but for the martial arts thing. I've been doing martial arts longer. I got my first black belt in 1977. Nice. And been competing in the open men's division since 1977. As a young kid, I was competing. I fought on the U.S. full contact team for the United States for years. We traveled around the world, and I got a chance to see the world and to fight. And it was great when I was at radio. Sometimes they'd broadcast my live full contact fights from wherever they were, so it was pretty cool. And I got to hang out and roll with some of the greatest. Got to meet some great fighters, not only in the martial arts world, but also in the boxing world. Sugar Ray, Thomas Hearns, Marvin Hagler, of course, Hector Macho Camacho, all these guys. It was just great. So I've enjoyed that all my life, and I'm still doing it today. So it's great. My kids are all involved in it. My wife's involved in it. They all help out at the school, and they all do things, so it's been great. But the two of them together, fantastic. You don't know how many times being at the radio station that we're bringing in acts, whether it be Midnight Star, whether it be celebrity that we're bringing in, that they'll say, God, we need security. So we hire some of the black belts from karate school. So a lot of times when we've been at Celebrity Theater or other places, you'd be surprised that the guys running security are all from the karate school and in the nightclubs also. So it's been great. So that's what inspired me to go to the martial arts, and the two of them now, can't separate them. They're both one and the same for me. Wow. The funny thing is, the more I think about it, I start remembering stuff. And when you get to my age right now, that's how it works. You think about something, and later on you go, oh yeah, what about three most memorable? I don't know, it's really tough. I can probably tell you the first one, because that one sticks out in my head a lot, when I kind of had to go, wow, am I really doing this? And at the time, he wasn't as big as he is right now, or unfortunately he's passed away, but he wasn't as big as he got. A lot of folks didn't know. But because I love this music, and I'm so happy that a lot of this music, I was the music director of KUKQ after Rick Noon left and went to LA, and there was a guy named Steve Smith who was a huge guru in the whole radio industry. He was kind of took me under his wing and trained me to be the music director of KUKQ. This is like 1980, 81, 82, 83. And so we were the only outlet for music of this type, of the R&B, the old school, the funk. You couldn't hear it anywhere else. As a matter of fact, our sister station was FM, and it was KUPD. And at one point, we were getting so big on the AM channel, I mean, think of this as AM radio, that, and KUPD became a huge, if you're from this town, you know, it became a huge rock and roll station. But at one time, we were surpassing them so much that we were just days away from flipping and taking the KQ music, put it on FM, and taking the KUPD and put it on AM. We were going to flip it because it was going so well. And so a lot of songs that first came out, I remember, and I know that, don't get me wrong, club DJs, I'm a DJ with you also. I know that a lot of times club DJs, they play the new music before the radio stations, at least back in the day. And it wasn't like today where you have all these different outlets off the internet and social media where you can hear music. Years ago, radio, that was it. I mean, you used to have to sit with your cassette player getting ready to record your song if you wanted. There was no downloading, no streaming. So I was excited to know that for this music, there was another radio station in the town. I was a music director, so I was picking music. And I would hear an album, and I remember when Luther Vandross first came out with Never Too Much. Yeah. And then they gave me the album and said, listen to it, and you pick what you think would be the next single so we could tell the record companies, and I'd listen to it, and I remember doing that with Midnight Star, and I remember going, oh my gosh, Slow Jam's going to be a hit. So then we started playing that. So there's a lot of music today that Arizona got to hear, and I don't say this to like pat myself on the back, but when I hear it, I go, gosh, I remember listening to it in the studio and putting it on and going, this one's going to be a hit. And I would play it, and because I decided to, it got radio airplay in Arizona, which was really cool. So there's a lot of songs like that. So my first memorable moment, I remember listening to this song, and I thought, man, this song's going to be a hit. And it became huge. And then all of a sudden, he came to concert. And I was so excited because it was huge. And when I walked into, this guy loved DJs. He loved DJs so much because he understood what it took to get his records played. So he would travel around to all the different radio stations in the country, and he would make a big deal out of the DJs because he knew that we would play his song on the radio. And so when I went to the concert and I came in, he told everybody, hey, it's the DJ, it's the DJ. And they picked me up, put me above their shoulders, and walked me around the dressing room and going, it's the DJ. And he was cool, and he would bring me out on stage. It was Roger Troutman. Nice. Roger Troutman and Zapp. And I remember going, I can't believe that Roger Troutman and Zapp are making a big deal of me, you know? And the cool thing is then he would come to your studio, he would set up his squawk box, he would get on the air with you and talk on that box and just cut so many stuff. And to this day, his brothers, Terry and Lester, still doing the same thing. We're playing one right now that they custom made for us before More Bounce, where they do a whole thing for Mega 104.3. And those guys, if you call them, Terry and Lester have done so many drops for me, and they continue the whole saga of Zapp and the family. So that was my first memorable moment, was that. And I mean, it's funny, so we were talking just before we started this whole thing, and I was telling about a story. Now remember, it's different when you get to see people in their infancy before they become huge, because we're just people hanging out. I'd say the second memorable moment, and it wasn't memorable until 15 years later, because at the time it was just people hanging out. But when some people become huge mega superstars, then you go, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Record company, again, back in the day, used to bring people out all the time to see it. They'd bring them out to us, we'd introduce them to us, and we'd meet them, and then these guys become huge. Well, record company says, hey, new artist in town, gonna bring her out, have some dinner, and see about playing her song. Okay. I was excited because when record companies came out, they paid for the dinner. So we went to Rustler's Roost over at off of I-10 and Baseline. Of course, there was no I-10 and Baseline back then, but it was out there Baseline, right? Rustler's Roost. And I don't know if it's still there. I think I told the story on the radio a few months ago, and somebody might have said it's still there. But at Rustler's Roost, when you went up there, they had a slide. They had like a little slide that slid from like the top floor down. It was not a big, it was just a little metal slide. Yeah. It was kind of cool for a restaurant back in the day. So we all sat down, and we're all going to eat. And they said, and oh, by the way, so it was Whitney Houston. It was Whitney Houston. So she was going, she took us out to go eat. And when she saw the slide, she thought it was cool. And then before the dinner came, she said, I need to use the restroom. And she asked, and we kind of pointed where it was, and she went. Time goes by, bring the food, still no Whitney. And now we're wondering what happened. I'm thinking, well, you know, she's from out of town. She doesn't know the restaurant. Maybe she got lost. So I said, you know what? Let me go see if I can find her. She's in the restroom. So I go to the restroom and I ask one of the waitresses there, hey, is there a girl in there? You know, we've been waiting out. No, she's not in there. So I'm walking around. Where the heck did she go? Yeah. So I walk over and there she is, going up and down the slide. She thought it was the coolest thing ever. And at the time, I wasn't like, Whitney Houston's is on the slide at Rustler's Roost. I was like, hey, I think I might have said, hey, girl, what you doing? Come on, food's here. We're ready to eat. She said, oh, I'm sorry. I was just having a good time. And so that was it. At the time, I didn't think much about it. Years later, she became Whitney Houston. And so I'll always remember when she was going up and down the slide. I thought that was pretty cool, you know. Wow. So that would, I'd say, my second memorable event. Gosh, another one? Hard to say, man. I can honestly tell you that I have had an opportunity to meet everyone that I ever wanted to meet, you know, from Janet to Madonna, Michael, of course, Muhammad Ali, right? Everyone, actors, you know, everyone. My wife's all crazy about Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston. Had a chance to do all that. And as memorable as they are, it's these little ones now that stand out of my mind so much, you know? And I've got to say, for me, one of my most memorable that I'll always remember is one of my idols for singing is Al Jarreau. Al Jarreau, amazing. Now, of course, he's got a couple songs we've played on this radio station, but in the jazz world, and he was known as the man with the golden voice. And really, only time I think I've ever really been starstruck, because I don't really get that at all. Not that, for whatever reason, I don't. And I've learned through the years that the bigger the artist is, the more that you act like, hey, what's up, brother, the better they treat you. Right. So I've never been that guy to be like, ooh, you know? Yeah. I've always been the guy, hey, what's up? Hey, come on in, sit down, let's go do something. And they feel more comfortable that way. At least that's my experience. Right. And Al Jarreau, was talking to him on the telephone. I was so excited. He was such a big name for us back in the day. I would use his name, and my buddy would use his name when we wanted to get a hold of someone. We'd call a radio station and ask like for the PD or ask for the MD, and they might not know who we are. So we'd on the telephone, we'd say, yes, would you let them know that Al Jarreau's calling for him? We knew that if we said that, people would pick up the phone, right? So I got to interview Al Jarreau on the phone, and we were talking because he was coming to town, and he was like, sing this with me. And I said, oh no. I said, Al, you don't want me to sing with you. Everybody tells me when your song's on to shut up and let you sing. And he says, Alex, you can sing with me if you want to. So he came to town, Celebrity Theater, and I'm sitting there, kind of, you know, right there in the orchestra pit. And I'll be darned if he doesn't say, Alex, come on up. Wow. And wants me to sing with him. Wants me to sing with him. We're in this love together. Of course, I was excited. I did my best to stay away from the microphone. He was trying to push it on me, but for me, that was one of my greatest moments, being able to say that I shared a little bit of mic time with Al Jarreau. Now, I got to do that same thing with Kool and the Gang for Get Down On It and some other things and some other bands and Hammer and guys like that. But Al Jarreau, man, that was a great moment for me. So, yeah, it's hard for me to put all these stories in context of like best to worst, because they've been good. You know, I've had some great times with some great people, and it's been a lot of fun. I've had some bad times with some great artists also. So, you know, yeah. There's been some times where I've been with an artist and, gosh, I hate to even say some of their names, but I remember being there and thinking to myself, I got to get out of here because this is not good. So, but those could be memorable moments also. So if I had to, that'd probably be about the three that I could think of off the top of my head. Well, you know, it's really funny. In both martial arts and in the radio thing, I've come to realize, and this only happens, I think, well, for me, I can speak for me, with age. I've come to realize that not only is music special to me, but it's special to each and every one of us. There's not a song that we all don't have for ourselves that takes us right back to a certain point. It brings emotions, whether they're joy, whether it's sad, whether it just makes you feel content. Music does that for us. And being the guy behind this for the last 40 some odd years, I'm very, very happy and proud to say there's people that have been listening to me since they were born. And they're older now and have their own kids. And maybe sometimes they associate some songs with me or the station or an event they were at that I was hosting or something that I did. So I get people that come up to me and they say things like, thank you so much for getting me through my mornings or getting me through the afternoons, no matter what shift I happen to be on or whatever radio station I was at. And I've had people tell me, you know, I was feeling horrible. It was the middle of the night. I didn't know what to do. I felt suicidal at some point. And I put on the radio and you were on and you were talking and you played a song, you know, when I was doing the overnight shift. And that changed their life. It meant something to them. So I understand that because of what I do, I've had an opportunity to touch some people in some great ways. And I'm thankful for that. By any means, I never set out to be the guy that was going to be there for you in that time when you needed to hear something, you know. But it's been great. And in martial arts, I've got guys that are with me 30 plus 40 years now that have grown up with me. They were like 4 and 5 years old when they started taking martial arts from me. Now they're 40, you know. And the few years ago, I was teaching a kid that I've been teaching for for about maybe 6, 7 years, and his dad came over to me, and his dad says, I've been through a lot of graduations, college, high school for kids that have been training with me, and his dad came up to me and he says, you know, Alex, he goes, I don't know if you realize that you're one of the biggest influences in my kids' lives. Nice. And I was like, and he goes, well, think about it. He says, they go to school, and he goes, and we all go to school, and we all remember that one teacher that made a difference for us. And maybe we had him for a year in high school or in junior high, or maybe we were lucky enough to have him twice while we were in school. And he says, but as a teacher, you've been in my kids' lives now for over 7 years straight. And he says, so you really have helped to mold them into who they are. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, wow, that's true, because I have people that I've studied with that have been my grandmasters that have changed my life and made me feel the way that I am now. And it's funny because I teach class, and for some of my older students that have been around, sometimes they'll come up to me and they go, oh, you know, you're turning into Sifu Tallbear, or you're turning into Master Parker, or Mr. Tabora, who are all grandmasters of mine. And I go, yeah, it's funny, I'm becoming them, you know, because they've had such influence in my life. So when now this question is being posed to me, it feels good. Don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful. But you know, it just feels natural, feels normal for me, because it's all I've ever done. And if what I'm doing has helped people or touched people, that makes me feel good. There's one of my favorite movies of all time. And you know, I don't want to get sentimental here, but one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think about it a lot. You know, a few years back, I had a major heart attack where I had to get coded, and they had hit me with those defibrillators like 7 times before they got me back. And I'm very fortunate to see, there's this movie called Mr. Hollander's Opus. And he was a music teacher. He wanted to write this great symphony. Never really happened. And at the end of his life, when he was all over and done with and he was through, all the students that he had throughout the years all came back, if you saw the movie, and they surprised him. They opened up the curtains of the stage, and they all played the opus that he wrote. And he said something that said, you know, for his life, all those people were his opus. So for my life, everyone that I've touched, all the students that I've been, that is my opus for my life. So I think it's been great that I've had an opportunity to work with people, to talk to people, and if anything that I did helped them get somewhere else, you know, as they say, you die twice. Once when you physically leave the earth, and once when people forget about you. So if that's true, even after I'm gone, hopefully something of my memory will live on, because, you know, we're only here for a short time, and after that, it's just what you leave behind, which is most of the time your family and your kids, but hopefully you've touched enough people that some or another you keep going. So thank you for the opportunity to let me do what I do. If it helps you, hey, mission accomplished, you know? Shout outs. Yeah, you know, a couple of people changed my life, made these things happen for me. Radio, Rick Noon. Rick Noon, been my mentor. Been bad, been on my butt, made me cry. Gosh, you name it, the guy's done it to me. Pretty much the same way a lot of my mentors in martial arts have. Even though in martial arts they physically beat me up, Rick mentally has beat me up left and right, but only to try to mold me to be a better broadcaster. So thank you, Rick Noon, for believing in me. And to this day, still one of my best friends, still believes in me. I appreciate him so much. He gave me great opportunities when I was young. Other shout outs, of course, the management here at Sarah H. I've been here now going on 20 years. I signed on with this station 2 months, 3 months maybe, after they originally signed on. I heard what they were doing, and I thought, God, I got to be part of that. And I came in, and I'm happy to say that, boy, we took Mega, and we built a great thing here. And most stations, especially this format, trust me when I say this, because I've been involved in this format all my life. Most radio stations, especially in Arizona we're talking, not anywhere else, if they start playing this kind of music, they usually do it for a couple of years, and then they move on to the next thing. They move on, especially when you're talking about bringing a lot of African Americans and Hispanics out to some place, and before you know it, it's called a minority station. They usually don't last but a couple of years before they move on. At least that was my experience in this format, in this market for the last 43 years. But these guys have held the course, and that's great. I think it's fantastic that they've been able to do that and have a place. And I say this, I know racist means it all, but a place for us to have the music that we love, the music that makes us feel good. It's a great outlet for us. Now, at times there's been other stations that have played this music and they've all competed, and then after a couple of years, they go away. Somebody stays. Well, Mega stayed for 20 years, so thank you so much for making that possible here at Sarah H. Also have to shout out my wife. Most of you that know me and know things that go on, you know, at some points in my career, I used to think to myself, well, the only way to be real successful is make it look like you're single and you're young and you can run around and you're this and that, you know, and I found out years later, man, I mean, it was funny. All the stuff I used to come up with, you know what? I'm happily married, got 5 kids, I'm older, and you know what? If it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be worth anything. And that's both true for martial arts and for the radio, because she keeps me focused and keeps me going. So one for her, none of this would happen. Trust me, I wouldn't be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning if she wasn't there pushing me to get up out of bed and to get my stuff done and take care of the house and be the glue. So definitely have to shout out my wife, Veronica, which I do all the time when I sign off. There's been so many other people in my careers, both of them, that have been fantastic for me. A lot of them, unfortunately, you wouldn't know because their names from behind the scene. But you know what? I got the love is there, and they know who they are. So thank you, because you guys already know that I'm here doing this. I appreciate it. So all I can say is thank you to you, because honestly, I did learn this a long time ago in both genres of everything I do. For whatever reason, you've let me be part of your life. And for whatever reason, you've invited me into your homes, whether it's through the airwaves or invited me into your family through the martial arts. And for whatever reason, we hit it off and it worked. So all I can say is thank you for the opportunity, and big shout outs to you, because I can honestly tell you, in this business, from when I started, I didn't have to be here. I kind of beat the odds. Thank you so much for that. So big shout outs to you, and hopefully I'll be talking to you soon or working with you soon if you want to come down to the karate school. You guys have a good one, but thank you for your time, and thank you for my life.
And there you have it. Nothing but love and respect to Alex Santamaria. You know, sir, hearing these stories from you, your journey really made me visualize and feel like I was right there living it with you. You know, I mean, just it's one hell of a life, man. One hell of a life. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out to do this interview with us. You know, it was absolutely an honor, and I just wish you, you know, nothing but continued success, more life, you know, and just nothing but blessings. So thank you, I appreciate that. Make sure you guys are following him on social media and Shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was nothing short of amazing. Another one for the books. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.